Welcome back to the Sideline Live podcast. You can follow us over on Twitter and Instagram at the Sideline Live. We'd love to hear from you. On episode 55, I am delighted to be joined by Irish Olympian and 800 metre athlete Nadia Power. On this episode, we discuss her career, developing a good support network, the Olympics, dealing with setbacks and challenges, and so much more. I thoroughly enjoyed chatting with Nadia, so I hope you enjoy the episode. Hi Nadia, thanks a million for joining me on the podcast.
Thanks so much for having me.
Before we get into everything, would you mind giving a bit of an intro to the listeners who might not know who you are?
So my name's Nadia Power. I compete in athletics, mainly the 800 metres, but also the 1500 metres. So I guess that would be considered a middle distance athlete. And I'm a 2020 Olympian and also a DCU marketing student.
Brilliant. So kind of going back to underage, growing up, do you remember like a moment where you were like, I want to run for Ireland, I want to go to the Olympics?
I think very early for me. I definitely think I would have watched, I think Beijing, it would have been, so 2008 Olympics, and it definitely would have stuck in my head then at that point that I wanted to run. And I think in athletics world, the Olympics is just, you think of the pinnacle the whole time. So it's always kind of brought up as a benchmark of being really good, even from a really young age. It's kind of all you understand as the top level. You don't understand like kind of professionals or contracts or world championships. That's the only thing that makes sense to, I guess, a 10-year-old or so. So yeah, definitely I'd say watching the Beijing Olympics.
And was there a particular favourite athlete or role model you had growing up?
I wouldn't say one in particular. I definitely enjoyed watching Usain Bolt a lot at that Olympics. He stood out to me. I would have slightly missed, I guess, Sonia's time when she was competing really competitively, but my mom loved following her and always told me about her. And then as you grow up competing in Ireland, her name is constantly brought up, and been lucky enough to like meet her and spend time with her and stuff. So she's definitely someone we all look up to. And I think Dervla Work as well was definitely one I would have watched and really enjoyed. So she's great too.
There was a great picture on Twitter a little while ago. I think it was the Cumann Munschool primary school running team. Growing up, were you always kind of one of the fastest in your school, in your class?
Yeah, I was actually, and that was why my mom put me into athletics in the first place. I was always really into camogie and GAA, so I played for St. Jude's, and in that photo it's actually me and Hannah Hegarty. I know you've had her as a guest as well. So we were the two fastest in the class, faster than all the boys. So I guess we kind of turned out to still stay involved in sport, I guess, the most out of anyone. So it was maybe obvious from an early age he was going to stick with the sport. But yeah, like, no, I've just always been involved and always loved it.
Were you slagging all the lads saying you were faster than them?
I don't know if I was slagging them, but I'm sure I let it be known.
And Hannah sent in a question. She wanted to know, do you think camogie helped or hindered your athletics career?
God, that's actually a really tough one. I couldn't say it hindered it. I think, do you know what? I wouldn't even say it directly helped my athletics career, but I think it's a positive experience for someone who's younger to be involved in a number of sports. So I think just the social aspect of camogie and knowing there's more to athletic, there's more kind of sports outside athletics and teamwork and that kind of thing was really positive for me growing up, and then helped how I stuck with athletics and kind of was able to not focus on it too much until I was maybe 16, 17, because I think if I didn't play camogie, I would have maybe got too obsessed with athletics and too focused on it and put too much pressure on myself at a really early age.
Okay, that's really interesting. And do you think kind of having different friend groups, like I play different sports and I have different friend groups from school and primary school, do you think that kind of helped as well, that you could have, as you said, that social outlet from different sports?
Yeah, I think so. I still like that now. I have friends in running, but they're such good friends at this stage that when I meet them, I barely even talk about running. So I think that's a positive thing as well. And then I also have a lot of friends involved in GA, and I just think it's good to be surrounded with different people and hear about different sports, and then also good to have friends who aren't involved in any sport too.
Yeah, exactly. So you decided around 16 or 17 to focus on athletics?
Yeah, I think it was after under 16 I quit. I was starting to qualify for internationals at kind of schools level. So that would be like an international where you run against England, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales. So at the time, it was a really big deal for me to qualify for them, and I just wanted to focus a bit more on those competitions. And I was just finding it was kind of an increased injury risk as well to be playing camogie too.
Do you find it was that the kind of the stage, like you went, I know you went to the States for a couple of months for college, is that kind of the stage that you kind of think about going abroad and the idea is kind of planted and maybe coaches start reaching out to you?
I guess it would have been a little bit later. So I would have quit camogie maybe when I was coming into fourth year, I'd say. And then, yeah, probably the next year, I'm starting to think about university. My old coach from Temple Oak Athletics Club, where I used to run for, he had a son who was a college coach in America. So he always talked about that and the benefits of America. And he was like a big advocate for that. So I think that seed was planted in my head, like from a really, really early stage, maybe from like 12 or so. I almost didn't know what I wanted to do after school, except go on a scholarship to America. So I think yeah, I had that in my head, and then I ran well in fifth year at like basically the exact right time to get recruited by good schools. So then they start reaching out to you, and then you get to go on a visit and then make a choice.
Okay, and what's that like? Just if there's any younger athletes listening that want to go to the States, that kind of visiting and having the contact, and even I know there's like a recruitment process that has a lot of stages with it.
Yeah, it's a little bit overwhelming to be honest. There's endless options really in America, because even if you're not performing to like a top level, there's Division 2 schools, there's private colleges, like there's really a lot of options for any Irish athlete that wants to go, and they seem to love to have Irish athletes. So it's overwhelming, because I remember they'd like message me on Facebook, which, you think, oh, I'm getting a scholarship, it would be such a formal thing. No, like you have a coach like messaging you on Facebook. I'd get so many messages like, come to Florida, come to Mississippi, come to Michigan, and they're just like selling the school to you. So it's like a lot as a 17-year-old to to deal with. So obviously my mom really helped there, and like she'd be like looking up if the schools were good, and she was probably more concerned if they're like academically good than good at running. And then eventually narrowed it down, had some calls, and then you're allowed to go on visits. It's actually really cool.
Okay,
They pay for your visit. So like I got like a free trip to America.
unreal.
I actually with other athletes as well to visit schools. So I went to visit University of Providence. So there's an Irish coach there, Ray Tracy. So I went there first with two other Irish athletes. Then I went on to Iona in New York. And then I went on to the University of Virginia. So I kind of could see them, and you spend like 2 days with the team, and they kind of bring you through their lifestyle and show you kind of what life would be like as an athlete there. So did that, and I chose University of Virginia and then went there the following year.
What stood out with the University of Virginia out of interest?
I was really interested in just like having as much of an American college experience as possible. Like it was a little bit probably superficial. Like I just loved that they had the big facilities, the amazing stadiums, and the campus was so nice. The weather seemed really nice, versus Providence and Iona were like kind of private colleges, so they're way smaller. So they would have only had like maybe a couple of thousand students, and the campus was
Okay,
way smaller. They didn't have these massive facilities, and basically didn't have as much money probably as Virginia did, because those kind of big state schools get so much money from the football and the basketball teams, that
oh yeah.
then the athletics team ends up having like more budget. So I think it was literally just the campus, and Virginia was a really like scenic place, really nice places to run, and I really liked the girls there, so that's why I ended up going there.
And what's it like going from Ireland to the big campus? And I'm sure the athletics department and all the facilities and the gym are just out of this world.
Yeah, it was exciting, but definitely overwhelming. Just really different. I think I got a culture shock definitely, and I struggled with that a little bit. It was just I just found like the people really different, and like the humor really different, and it just made me like really miss my friends at home and my family. And I didn't think I would struggle with that at all, so I was kind of surprised. So I struggled with that, and then I just kind of didn't like the training. It just very like intense, the culture of training there, and it was like very much we'll squeeze whatever we have out of ourselves for the next 4 years and then be
Yeah.
done with running 22. And that seems to be how it goes honestly for like a big proportion of college athletes. Only like a small percentage make it through and become professional athletes. A lot of people train so seriously during college and then quit it at like as soon as they graduate, and I just didn't want that to be me at all. I didn't really like that. I could see everyone getting injured and that type of thing, so I wasn't that happy, and I reached out to my coach, and I knew him locally and I knew he was in DCU, so I had a place kind of saved for the following year. So I reached out to him and said, look, I don't think I'm going to be here for 4 years. I think I'll just be here for a year. And then he was like, okay, that's fine. See you next September. So this would have been Christmas at this point. And then at Christmas, two of us from the other girls from the UK had like a big falling out with the head coach because we flew back just because of flights and ticket costs and stuff like that. We flew back 2 days later than he wanted us back, and we missed like a team dinner and a training run, and
Okay.
he just like, went crazy at us and suspended us and like reduced my scholarship and
Oh, Jesus.
just was completely unreasonable about the situation. And the two of us just left actually as a result, which he definitely then regretted treating us like that, because he definitely didn't think we would react like that. But I really was unhappy before that, and already I guess had reached out at home and said, I don't think I'll stay here. And I knew I had a coach lined up for when I was home, and
Yeah.
I knew I'd been offered loads of other scholarships. So I was like, why would I stay here if I'm unhappy and being treated badly and now having to pay to be here as well because he reduced my scholarship?
Okay.
So I ended up leaving, I'd say like 2 weeks after I returned after Christmas. So it was a bit of a mess, to be honest, but definitely a good decision overall, but not how I saw my American college dream that I kind of was thinking about since I was about 12 years old go.
Yeah, I know what you mean, and kind of nearly like being able to kind of see maybe the 4 years won't suit me. But you actually held a place in DCU. Was you deferred the place after the CAO? Was it?
Yeah, I did that, and that was a very smart decision in hindsight. So
Yeah.
I to have that.
What was it like then coming home, and you already lined up a coach? You had your college course. I presume it was obviously a really good move for you. How did you find kind of coming back home and training in DCU?
Yeah, there was definitely a bit of a feeling of failure coming home, and everyone I knew I was in America, and I kind of meet people from school who wouldn't kind of have known the whole story, and I'd be asked, oh, are you not in America? And everyone just
Oh
assumed
no.
because it was a scholarship, it was amazing. And I even find like up to I'd say 2.5 years after, people would be like, oh, how's the scholarship in America? And I'm like, I'm literally been home 2 years. So, yeah, so it was tough kind of answering all those questions and going through the whole story again. And yeah, it was a bit of a crap feeling, but I think it was great I moved coach to Enda when I came home, because it just gave me like a new sense of like purpose and a new excitement for kind of my next few years at running. And even though it was like a massive change in direction, I knew DCU was like a really good place to go for athletics. So it wasn't that bad, just despite all the kind of the questions.
Yeah. And how do you find, like, what's your weekly schedule of training? Even at the moment, I know it might have even differed from coming back to DCU.
Yeah, it's definitely more now than it was then, but it was still a lot. I At the moment, most weeks would train twice a day on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then I have Friday off, and then I train on Saturday morning and Sunday morning, and that ranges from like training sessions to just like a short easy run to gym sessions to sprint sessions. So we just kind of mix everything there, but it's super busy, so it is quite hard with college.
And how do you find, like, even like when you said there are double days, like, and even training on the weekend, I know you have Friday off, but even mentally, how do you find kind of keeping it fun and keeping it challenging for yourself?
I don't struggle too much with that, to be honest. I'm a very like internally motivated person,
Okay.
like a lot, to be honest. So I'm probably pushing my coaches the whole time, I would say, more
Okay.
so than them pushing me. I'm always like asking for more. Why are we doing this? Or can we do that next time? Where would this make me better? So I don't actually struggle with training that often, because I am just really driven and I really enjoy like just getting really stuck into training as well. So yeah, it's a bit of an annoying answer, but yeah, I don't struggle.
And where do you think that motivation comes from?
I've no idea really. Because like my parents weren't really involved in like sport very seriously. I think it's just I have like big ambitions for athletics, and I know there's a lot of people working very hard around the world. So there's that I have to compete with. So I just there's no room to not kind of be that ambitious and that focused.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know in third year, you're in final year now, you split it, but in third year, you actually had a full time placement as well as training and all the races and just everything. It sounds like madness.
Yeah, that year was really, really tough for me. And yeah, I struggled a lot with that. I kind of realized if I want to train and compete at a high level, like a full-time job just isn't doable. And yeah, most now some somehow manage it. But for me, I found it really hard that year. But then COVID came along and we were able to work from home. And then I guess all
Mhm.
my races were cancelled too. So I even found like working from home and just without the commute time and stuff like that, it was kind of easier to train.
And how did you find training at home? I think you had a couple of videos up in your garden doing deadlifts and squats and loads of stuff.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It wasn't ideal, it's not what I wanted, but I found it like during COVID, especially like really deep into it when we had no idea what was coming next the whole time or when things would be back. It was kind of a high point of each day and something to do and something to aim at. So
Yeah.
I didn't find it too hard at all. I think I had the idea I'll get some really good training in now and then I'll get an advantage on all of my competitors. But
Yeah.
to be honest, everyone had the exact same idea in athletics anyway, and just the results since COVID have been incredible. So I don't think I got a one up on anyone, to be honest, because everyone seemed to take that same approach to work even harder in that time.
Yeah, yeah, there was loads of stories up of everyone, like all the Olympians that I follow. But do you think that kind of that success that we've seen, as you said there, that's just down to like not having to peak in the middle of a season for a race and just having that period of time to train and just really work on yourself?
Yeah, I think so. I think it was like a time where you could still do all your work without the reduced pressure of like a competition just around the corner. So everyone kind of maybe got a longer, uninterrupted training block. And also maybe it just helped people rediscover like the simplicity of why they enjoy their sport, because you can kind of forget why you're doing it sometimes because you're just thinking about your goals in the next race the whole time. And then I found anyway, I just was like, oh, I actually really just enjoy this and enjoy training and enjoy working hard. So I think maybe other people had that effect too.
Okay, yeah. I was actually listening to Dina Asher Smith before, and she was kind of talking about. I think it was her now. She was talking about social media and kind of having other athletes, let's say on Instagram. And sure, everyone puts up what they're doing best on Instagram, their PBs or their lifts. How do you find kind of watching other athletes on Instagram? Is that something you try shy away from? You don't look at your competitors, or is it something you just embrace?
It's a tough one. I definitely like struggle with it a little bit and find I do automatically kind of go into comparing myself or have in the past anyway.
Hmm.
Even just like when you see people have a kind of better training setup than you and stuff like that, sometimes you can kind of go on a on a into a rabbit hole with that. So I think
Yeah.
just kind of catching myself when I'm comparing myself and just reminding myself like it's just social media, everyone's just showing their good days or they're not,
Hmm.
you don't know the full story is kind of helpful. But I definitely like I listened to that podcast as well and I completely thought Dina had like a great approach to it.
You seem to have a really good support network around you. You mentioned before Jessie Barr, your coach, Enda Donny. Like, if there's anyone listening, how can they approach building that support network around them as an athlete?
Yeah, I think one thing about that is you have to do it yourself. I think some people like maybe think it's going to come to them or I'll get to this level and I'll have people reaching out to me or whatever. I very much like do think I did a good job at actually just picking the people I wanted and asking them and making sure they like I see them often and that type of thing. So I'm really happy with like the people I work with and they've just given me great buy-in, but I also like I did have to take the time to like individually, like Enda came to me, but I would have went to End if I wasn't happy with him or whatever. So like,
Okay.
he's one side, then me and Donny started working together and I make sure Donny and Enda then speak, even though they have no connection outside of that. I make sure that them two are on the same page. with with each other. And then like my massage therapist Tom is so good as well, and like I put him in touch with Donny, so like he knows anything that's bothering me, or that's tight, like Donny is then working at, so they're in touch even though they wouldn't have known each other outside of that. And then I work with Jessie as well, Jessie Barr, for sports psychology, and then she would then be in touch with Enda. So as I said, can be a bit of a pushy athlete. So yeah, you have to create that team like around you, and they're also willing to work with each other and they love it, but you do have to create that yourself as an athlete, I think, and not just wait for it to come to you.
Mm-hmm. Do you do massage therapy? What else would you do for like recovery and kind of injury management?
So I get a massage twice a week, which yeah seems a lot, but I find prevention is better than cure in that way. And then Donny is my strength and conditioning coach. He also works with me on like kind of I guess athletic development overall. So like my running form and that type of thing. But he's also a physio, so that's super helpful. So, if I'm going into him for a gym session and like my hamstring is tight beforehand, I'll just be like, can we work on that as well in the gym? So that's been great to have him have that knowledge base as well. And then outside of that, I stretch and do rehab exercises like pretty much before and after for like just around 10 minutes or so every time I run.
Okay, very good. Is there any specific area that you do mobility and stretching wise, or just kind of a all body kind of thing?
It's just whatever I need at the time. My calves have been kind of taking a hit the last while as we go into winter and have more volume, so mostly concentrate on them. But yeah, it's just kind of whatever I need at the time.
Mm-hmm. So 2021, you had a brilliant start in Vienna. You broke the record. I think it lasted now 4 days, but you did break the record. What was it like going into those races after COVID and after for so long, as you said, you didn't know what was going to happen, being able to have that opportunity to race again?
Yeah, it was really exciting, but it was a really stressful season as well because I was kind of waiting to get into a lot of those races
Okay.
as the season went on, and I kind of didn't know where I was going next. So it was a very challenging season outside of the track. I think from the outside, it looked like I was doing great and I was in all these big races and breaking records, and it was brilliant. But the day to day was really tough,
Okay.
because kind of getting into races that I probably wasn't on paper as good as the people beforehand. So I had to kind of just wait to see if I could get a place or last minute dropout in a lot of those races. So it was kind of waiting in one country to see if I was in a race in 4 days and then suddenly flying there and then navigating the COVID kind of the rules and the tests and all the documentation and stuff. So yeah, it was super stressful, but I think I like gained a lot of independence. And then obviously like I was still able to perform most of the time last season, or sorry, indoor season. So I was like proud of that. But I think everything just caught up with me at European indoors, and I felt like kind of flat for the semi final. And then I actually got like a really bad head cold like straight after. And I
Oh,
tend to
sugar.
get at the end of seasons from being run down, I tend to get like sick like the second the race finishes. So yeah, that kind of told me that the season was a little bit too much. But the racing was great, and getting to experience those bigger races and be competitive there was really exciting.
Yeah, I even forgot about, let's say, the quarantining and the COVID tests. That's obviously like that was a huge part, I'd say, of the season in like earlier this year.
Yeah, it was. And I went just abroad for a training camp in Portugal for 2 weeks, and I thought I'd be home and thought I would like have races sorted for the whole month. And I just ended up not being able to come home between the races and the training camp, and
Oh God.
booking stays in hotels the whole time to stay, because Ireland seemed to have kind of stricter quarantine rules than maybe some of the other European countries. So I ended up just like bouncing from country to country rather than returning home.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up being away for 6 weeks rather than 2 weeks.
Okay.
So it was
God.
a little bit, yeah, it was a little bit stressful. I just hope it doesn't get that bad again with COVID.
Yeah, fingers crossed. You mentioned that training camp. I know you went with the. I think that's the one you talked about on Off the Ball with Louis Herr, the Swiss coach, and you spoke about the
Yeah.
importance of that camp for you individually to compete and train with some of the girls that, let's say, the position you want to be in.
Yeah, that was definitely important for me. I needed to like kind of take some people off a pedestal who have like broken two or been to the Olympics, and just kind of see that they were normal and that type of thing. Because like, yeah, I was just training in college
Hmm.
and no one's near that good in college, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like no one's at all the world championships, European championships, Olympics at all, you know. So you kind of think people that are at those competitions are just so much better than you and they must be super different, and how
yeah.
would I relate to something like that? So just kind of seeing their normal is like super important, I think.
Yeah, I loved the method you did with Jessie Barr about kind of having your goal and then writing underneath the reasons why you can achieve your goal, and kind of writing down, well, I can run this time here. I've broken this PB. I can whatever gym or whatever it is. Like, how important is that for an athlete to kind of have that self belief and confidence?
Yeah, I think it's really important, and Jesse like really simplified it for me. Even just like overall, maybe when we started working together at an early stage, we would have talked about the Olympics, and I just thought the Olympics was just the most big crazy thing ever, and she just simplified it as, well, do you think you can run 201 next year? And I was like, yes. She was like, yeah, the Olympics is just a race you need to run 201 to qualify for. And I was like, oh, right, okay. So just simplifying stuff like that is really helpful.
Is there any other kind of techniques that she's given you that you find really helpful? Let's say in the mental preparation before a race.
Um, I think we kind of change what we're doing a lot as we go from race to race, because every race have different challenges and goals. So yeah, I'm trying to think now. I guess sometimes I'd write out stuff on a piece of paper, like a few key messages for that particular race
Okay,
and things I need to remember. And so I'll discuss them with her, and then I will just like read them in the warm up. So I just
okay,
kind of simplify the task of the race.
okay. Very good. Are you superstitious at all before a race? Do you have any like specific thing you do?
No, I try to be very almost too far the opposite way of that, because I learned
Okay,
from just like traveling that so much is out of your control and things can be really messy, and just a different challenge pops up in every race and meet, and things are always different. So you can't kind of be too obsessed with one particular step before a race, or I have to eat this or I have to wear that. Like things can just go wrong and you need to be able to adapt and still perform.
okay.
So I try to really avoid being superstitious in any way.
After mentioning that goal to Jessie, I suppose going to the Olympics, what was it like actually qualifying and getting to go to Tokyo?
Yeah, it was great, really. Yeah. I guess it's been something I've dreamed of since, yeah, I started running basically. So it's amazing to have done it. And I'm still kind of looking back like, oh wow, that actually happened. So yeah, it's great, but it's almost a bit of a mixed feeling, because you kind of just afterwards you're like, oh, it was great, but life goes on. It's fine. Things are still the same. I just had put it on such a pedestal that like I just thought, once
Yeah,
everything will be okay after I'm an Olympian, like my life will be so different just because I'll be so happy all the time. And yeah, like it's not like that at all. It's just like a cool thing you did and it's a great achievement, but it doesn't like change that much.
okay. What was it like going over with the Irish team and being in, like, I know the travel was probably quite long and quite difficult with COVID, but even being in the athlete village, I know you had a training camp before you actually went to the Olympic village as well.
Yeah, it was super exciting, and I'm such good friends with so many people that were on the team, and it was like our first time for a lot of us. So it was just definitely like a really positive, great atmosphere, and the camp before was really good. Like it was really well set up by the Olympic Council, and we were staying in this amazing place, and the staff were so nice. But I actually got sick the
Oh
week
no.
before camp, so yeah, that was like super challenging, and obviously it's like the last thing you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that was a big downer for me. And then my race went quite badly then, because I think whatever was still in my system. So yeah, it's definitely mixed emotions, because it was an amazing experience. And I think like despite having no crowds, it was like definitely a big deal. It felt like the atmosphere and everything. But just those challenges for me are just kind of frustrating ones.
Yeah, absolutely. Was it the buzz and the kind of the athlete village that you kind of, even though it was no like, as you said, fans in stadium, that kind of did kind of make you realize, well, this is really the Olympics, or was it really like the fans didn't really make much of a difference not being there?
Um I guess I have nothing to compare it to a little bit. So I think it'd be very different if you were like an athlete who was at London or something and
Okay.
that was meant to be so amazing. So I have nothing to compare it to. So for me, it felt great, even though the stadium was empty. It was just kind of, I would say, even like how the Team Ireland staff made us feel and how the people at home were so excited for us and people in my neighborhood and my friends and everything. And
Yeah.
just the team, like it was kind of that general excitement, more so even than the village, I would say, that just made it seem like just a really big deal and that it was the Olympics. And then obviously, yeah, it was super cool just walking around the Olympic village and kind of pinching yourself saying, oh, I'm actually here.
Yeah.
I kind of made it like that. But obviously I'm sure it would have been taken to a whole new level if fans were involved.
Hmm. I had a good. There was a TED talk from Dean Asher Smith. I know I mentioned her earlier on, but she kind of had an interesting debate that she would find more motivation, let's say, from a setback rather than success. Is that something that you find that a setback kind of drives you even more, or does success play a part as well?
I would actually say success drives me more than a setback, which is probably like interesting, I would say.
Yeah.
Because as I was kind of saying earlier, I don't struggle too much with like motivation.
Hmm.
But I think when I experience success, it kind of like is it's like telling myself that, all the hard work pays off and I enjoy that a lot. So it kind of is, yeah, reinstating it into myself that it's worth it to do all the hard work. So yeah, it's probably an unusual way of looking at it.
Yeah, no, that makes sense from your sense of drive and motivation. And I think you kind of mentioned that before with the bronze medal in the under 23 Europeans. You were kind of saying, right, I'm not just here to kind of make a time. I'm here to medal, and do you know what? I'm really talented, and I just need to back myself a bit.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect example of that. If I had went to that championships and came sixth or fifth, I would have came home and said, how will I ever be one of those people that medals? Like how will I be like that? That will
Hmm.
never happen to me. Because I know from all my previous international championships, that's how I came home. I came home like, oh, that was really cool. I achieved my goal of running for Ireland, but I don't know how I'll become one of those medalists. And I didn't even like see them as motivation. I more just was like, oh, that will never be me. Whereas like
Okay.
winning that medal that time was like a click in my head, like, oh, wait, that can be me and it can happen to me. So I
Yeah.
think, yeah, that was completely a good example of success, just like being an even bigger, like motivating force.
Do you have? I've asked a couple of guests this question, but do you have a particular definition of success?
It's hard in running. It like every race is different, I guess. So I can't even like say one now because even like I could start the season and say, oh, success this season would be to run like, let's say, for example, 201. But then
Hmm.
if I run 201 in an early race, I'll just completely forget that I set that bar for myself and say, well, I want to break 2 minutes now. And then
Yeah.
this season becomes not a success if I didn't break 2 minutes, even though at the start, like I would have considered, running 201 a
Yeah.
success. So I think overall for me, I'm trying to just simplify a little bit as kind of finishing the season happy with myself.
Very good. As an Irish athlete, and I've heard you speak about this before, you've brilliant support from the likes of Adidas, Toyota, Max Sport, and a couple of other people I probably didn't mention there. But how important is it to have that financial support and backing from brands like that? Let's say because athletics isn't one of the big three, rugby, GAA, and soccer.
Oh, like it's just a complete game changer. And like literally this year, I'm so happy like to have those sponsors, like literally still pinching myself that I have those four on board. And like it means I can just pursue this without having to have a part-time job or worrying about money as much, like it's just a
Hmm.
game changer. If I didn't, yeah, I'd have to be like, how can I run while having a part-time job? So yeah, complete game changer. It's a little bit difficult in athletics just because you're not a team, so maybe some companies aren't like as interested kind of as supporting, but I'm super lucky. And it just kind of for me means after college I'm not panicking about, oh, I need to get a job. I'm just going to to give the running thing a go, and I'm just privileged to be in that position.
How do you balance the kind of PR side and social media side of things, and posts and kind of sponsor posts? Is it kind of overwhelming when you've got so much else going on, or is it just part of being an athlete?
It can be a little bit overwhelming at times, but like social media to me has overall been really positive. Like people are so supportive to me about athletics, and I just like it in that way. Like I haven't luckily really got too much negativity at all, and so I just kind of try and just remind myself constantly that, you know, it's positive and people like hearing my story and that type of thing. So I try not to just get too overwhelmed in that way. And also, you know, as we said with sponsorship, it's like it's a way I can sustain this as my job. So, you know, I want to like do a good job for my sponsors and make sure I'm promoting their brands. So yeah, I try not to get like too overwhelmed with it. It can be busy, but I think it's super positive overall.
How do you find if, let's say, a younger athlete sends you a message or comes up to you, let's say you're training or at a race, and they're kind of like, oh, like I look up to you? How do you find being like a role model now, whereas when you were younger you would have looked up to like the names you mentioned earlier?
Yeah, it's so nice. I think I still have a bit of imposter syndrome, and then I can be quite hard on myself as well. So sometimes like someone's coming up to me and like, oh, you inspired me so much, and then I'm thinking like, oh, well, it's not the same as me being inspired by Sonia. Sure, she has like an Olympic silver medal. I just made it there. Why are they inspired by me? And I know that's silly. So I guess a lot of the time I'm kind of laughing at people almost in my head being inspired by me, or like kind of looking up to me. I'm still kind of have an imposter syndrome with it and don't know how to react. So I'm just be friendly to everyone. But yeah, it's super sweet. Like even just like people in my old club, like kids coming up to me and stuff. And I think sometimes something that stands out to me is like I had a little boy come up to me last week, and he was just so cute, and he wanted a picture, and he was in my old athletics club. And before even I've had like messages off, like I remember I got messages off like a 14-year-old boy saying like I inspire him so much. And I think they meant so much to me because I thought it kind of shows like the whole see her be her in 20 by 20 is like kicking into action, because I really almost was shocked that it was a boy, if that makes sense, because you know they have other footballers, the GA players to look up to, and even male athletes. So it was almost like super surprising. So that kind of like, I don't know, that stood out to me even more. But it's great, and it's obviously, it reminds you why you do it.
That's cool. Right, I'm going to move on. Actually, before I move on to Sideline 7, looking towards the future, I suppose the goal is kind of to go professionally. And what sort of lessons have you learned from this year that you're going to bring forward into the next couple of years of your career?
A lot this year. Like so much. I think a big one was, you know, the Olympics was not the ultimate, like, I've made it moment that I thought it would be, maybe. So think that's been a bit of a kind of switch in my mindset a little bit, so that's kind of a big lesson. And I think overall I put so much pressure on myself this year, so my goal really next year is to enjoy it a little bit more, and kind of take the pressure off, because it was a very intense year. So I think enjoy it more is kind of the biggest takeaway from this year.
Mm-hmm. So the Sideline 7 is the same 7 questions at the end of every episode. Question 1, what is your favourite quote?
Yeah, so I struggled with this one a little bit because I always change my favourite quote, like, and I love like listening to podcasts and writing stuff down. So I have a different one nearly every week. But my one from this week is Johnny Wilkinson. I don't know if you've listened to that podcast, the High Performance podcast.
I'm actually listening back in segments because it's so good.
Okay, well, his is my favourite. I've listened to it about 7 times, I'd say, and I've written loads of notes from it and everything, and I've forced other people to listen to it. But some of the stuff he says isn't like very quotable. But anyway, this is one that I liked. If you have an idea of what your best is, it's not your best. It's just your next limit. Yeah,
I love that one.
Yeah, but listen to the whole podcast, because there's kind of, I would say, almost better messages than that in it. But it's just so good. I'll probably listen to it again soon now.
After this, you're just going to go put it on.
Yeah. I need to just check it every few months. I love it so much.
Is there any other particular podcast that you'd recommend for any of the listeners?
Yeah, my big favorites definitely would be that one, the High Performance Podcast, and then I also like the Clean Sport Collective. It probably now is a little bit more for kind of specific running fans, I would say, but the whole basis is about, they just interview some top athletes around the world, and then but always bring it back to like clean sport and like discuss kind of topics on that and like recent doping cases and that type of thing. So it's definitely like educated me a lot on that side of sport.
Okay, that's really interesting. Question 2, best sporting event you've been to?
Yeah, I guess that one's easy enough. I have to say the Olympics. I can't say anything else apart from that. I've never been to any other big athletics event really outside of Ireland, are the ones I've raced at. So the Olympics, hands down, even though there is no fans.
Yeah. Question 3, biggest setback or challenge so far in your career?
I would definitely say America, coming home from America. Not how I saw my college career going home after 4 months. So just kind of completely resetting and coming up with new goals and kind of a new way of approaching athletics, and the next few years was definitely challenging.
Kind of on the flip side then, a bit more positive, your biggest achievement on or off the track?
I would say my biggest achievement is becoming an Olympian, I guess. Yeah.
Did you get the tattoo?
I did get the tattoo. Yeah. Unfortunately, all my achievements are probably on the track, but yeah, I did get the tattoo. That's one I definitely thought about for a long time before. So even though I kind of had mixed experiences with the Olympics, with just kind of getting sick and being disappointed with my performance, I said to myself, this tattoo isn't for me in the last month who's disappointed with the race. This tattoo is for like me for years and years and years who just dreamt of going to the Olympics.
That's class. Advice to your 18-year-old self?
I would say similar to that Johnny Wilkinson quote, like just don't set limits on yourself.
Dream dinner guest and why?
I think Usain Bolt. I just think he'd be a really fun time, and obviously he's a pretty good performer, so you could get really good inspiration off him there too. But I think he'd be a really fun time too, so definitely him.
Is there anything in particular you'd think of asking him, or just having a chat with him?
I'd ask him to like tell me how he's so chilled out and relaxed, and I just need to learn have fun with it a little bit more. I know it's probably his personality, but that would be the biggest side I would want to get from him. Just how to chill out and enjoy it a little bit more.
Very good. Final question before I let you go. If your life was a book, what chapter would this be called?
This was a really tough question, but for some reason this sprung to mind. I would say Just Arrived at Base Camp, because I like to think of me getting to the Olympics as getting to this new level of athletics. So kind of the base camp of Everest, but once I got there, I'm realizing there's still a long way to go to be one of the best in the world, and it's only going to get tougher after this, kind of to make my mark. So yeah, we're just at a new stage now, and with a long way to go.
Brilliant. Nadia, thanks so much for your time. I really enjoyed that. I just want to wish you the very best of luck on and off the track moving forward, and thanks again for coming on.
Thank you.
A massive thank you to Nadia for joining me today. I just want to wish her the very best of luck moving forward, and I'll be sure to leave all of our social media links in the description box below. If you are listening on Apple Podcasts and did enjoy the episode, I'd really appreciate if you'd leave a rating and a review, as it does help the show grow. If you're looking for more content, be sure to check out the website thesidelinelive.com for more, and subscribe to our newsletter. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you in the next one.